Welcome to Daily English Avenue.
Imagine that you have just arrived in a new country with one clear goal. You want to become a nurse. You studied hard before leaving home, but your qualifications are not accepted immediately. You need to pass exams, complete supervised training, and prove that your English is strong enough for real hospital work. You know the journey will be difficult. You expect long nights, unfamiliar systems, and moments of doubt. What you do not expect is that one ordinary English word will nearly stop you before you truly begin. For months, you balance two lives. During the day, you work in a care home. At night, you study medical vocabulary, pronunciation, listening exercises, and patient communication. You record yourself speaking. You repeat difficult phrases. You practice how to explain pain, medication, symptoms, and procedures. You are tired, but you keep going. Why? Because every page you read feels like one step closer to the life you imagined. Then the opportunity comes. A hospital announces a supervised training placement for internationally educated nurses. Hundreds of people apply. Only a small group will be selected. You prepare your documents, ask former teachers for references, and rewrite your personal statement again and again. When the interview invitation appears in your email, you read it 3 times. You have been shortlisted. For the next 2 weeks, you prepare every evening. You study common interview questions. You practice speaking slowly. You remind yourself not to translate directly from your first language. You learn phrases such as patient-centered care, clinical responsibility, and professional judgment. On the morning of the interview, you arrive early. Your clothes are neat, your documents are organized, your hands are cold, but your voice is steady. The first questions go well. You explain why you chose nursing. You describe your previous experience. You talk about a difficult patient and how you remained calm. The interviewers listen carefully, and one of them smiles. You begin to believe you may actually succeed. Then one interviewer asks a question that contains a word you know. At any point in your previous role, were you disciplined for your conduct? You hear the word disciplined, and your mind immediately connects it to self-control, hard work, and strong personal habits. In many English learning materials, a disciplined person is organized, serious, and committed. So you smile and answer confidently. Yes, I was very disciplined. My supervisor often said I was one of the most disciplined workers on the team. The room becomes quiet. One interviewer looks down at your application. Another slightly raises an eyebrow. The person who asked the question leans forward. Can you explain what you were disciplined for? Now you feel confused. Why are they asking for a reason? You think perhaps they want an example of your commitment. You answer again. I was disciplined because I always arrived early, followed instructions, and completed my responsibilities. The silence becomes heavier. Can you imagine how quickly confidence disappears when everyone understands a conversation except you? The interviewer tries one more time. Were you ever given a formal warning or punished by your employer? Finally, the meaning becomes clear. In this context, disciplined does not mean hardworking or self-controlled. It means officially punished for breaking a workplace rule. Your face becomes warm. Your heart begins to race. You understand that your first answer sounded like an admission. You may have just told the interview panel that your former employer punished you for misconduct. You correct yourself immediately. No, I'm sorry, I misunderstood the meaning of the word in the question. I was never given a warning or punished. I meant that I was a disciplined worker. The interview continues, but something has changed. You are no longer thinking only about the questions. You are thinking about the mistake. You wonder whether the panel trusts you. You wonder whether your English sounds unsafe for hospital work. By the time you leave the building, you feel certain that you have lost the opportunity. You replay the moment on the bus. You hear the question again. You hear your answer. You imagine the interviewers discussing it after you leave. How can one familiar word have 2 meanings that lead in completely different directions? This is one of the most important truths about learning English. Knowing a word is not the same as understanding how that word behaves in different situations. You may know the dictionary definition. You may know the pronunciation. You may even use the word correctly in one sentence. But English words often change meaning according to context, grammar, profession, tone, and cultural expectation. The word disciplined is a perfect example. When you say, "You are disciplined," the word usually describes a positive personal quality. It means you control your behavior and follow a plan. When you say your employer disciplined you, the meaning changes. Now it refers to punishment or corrective action. The spelling is the same. The pronunciation is almost identical. The emotional effect is completely different. This kind of word is dangerous only when you treat vocabulary as a collection of single meanings. If you learn each word as one translation, you may feel confident until real life places that word in a new structure. Have you ever recognized every word in a sentence but still misunderstood the message? That experience does not mean your English is failing. It means you are moving from classroom knowledge to contextual understanding. Beginners often ask, "What does this word mean?" Stronger learners gradually begin to ask better questions. What does this word mean here? Who is using it? What word comes before it? What word comes after it? Is it describing a person, an action, a process, or an official decision? These questions protect you from the false confidence of a single definition. Think about the word charge. A shop can charge you money. The police can charge someone with a crime. A battery can charge. A manager can put you in charge of a team. A person can charge into a room. Would one translation be enough for all those situations? Think about the word issue. An issue can be a problem. A company can issue a statement. A government can issue a passport. A magazine can publish a new issue. The word does not travel alone. Its neighbors help create its meaning. That is why phrases are often more useful than isolated vocabulary. Instead of learning only disciplined, you learn disciplined worker, disciplined for misconduct, disciplinary action, formal warning, and self-discipline. Instead of learning only charge, you learn charge a fee, charge with a crime, take charge, and fully charged. Your memory becomes stronger because you are not storing a loose word, you are storing a small map. But what happens after the interview? 2 days pass. You check your email repeatedly. Every notification makes your heart jump. You prepare yourself for rejection. Then a message arrives from the hospital. The panel would like to invite you to a second conversation. You do not know whether this is good news or another test. Still, you accept. During the second meeting, the lead interviewer speaks directly. "We wanted to clarify what happened during the interview. Your references are excellent, and your experience is strong. We understood that there was a language misunderstanding. In a hospital, however, clarification is essential. What would you do differently if you misunderstood a patient or colleague?" This is no longer only an English question. It is a question about responsibility. You could defend yourself. You could blame the word. You could say that the interviewer should have asked more clearly. Instead, you tell the truth. You explain that you answered too quickly because the word looked familiar. You say that familiarity made you assume meaning before checking context. You add that in a clinical setting, you would not pretend to understand. You would pause, repeat what you heard, ask for clarification, and confirm the final meaning. Then you demonstrate. So, if I'm unsure, I might say, "When you say disciplined, do you mean formally punished by an employer?" The interviewer nods. That simple clarification sentence changes the direction of the conversation. Why is asking for clarification such a powerful language skill? Because real communication is not a performance. It is a process of reaching the same meaning. Many learners believe that asking someone to repeat or explain a word makes them look weak. They nod even when they are confused. They answer quickly because silence feels embarrassing. They guess because they want to sound fluent. But guessing can create more confusion than asking. In serious situations, accurate communication matters more than fast communication. You can use simple phrases to protect yourself. Could you explain what you mean by that? Do you mean that? Are you asking whether, "I know this word, but I want to confirm its meaning in this context"? Could you give me an example? These sentences are not signs of poor English. They are tools of mature communication. Native speakers use them too. The difference is that confident speakers do not always expect themselves to understand everything immediately. They focus on repairing confusion when it appears. You can train this skill before an important interview, meeting, class, or conversation. Choose a word with several meanings. Write 3 sentences that use it differently. Notice the grammar around it. Say each sentence aloud. Then practice asking a clarification question for each meaning. For example, take the word notice. You can notice a change. You can receive a notice. You can give 2 weeks' notice before leaving a job. Now imagine someone says, "Did your employer give you notice?" Would they be asking whether your employer observed you? Probably not. In a workplace context, they may be asking whether your employer formally informed you that your job would end. Context narrows possibility. You can also create a personal vocabulary notebook that is organized by situations instead of alphabetical order. One page can be for job interviews. Another can be for hospitals. Another can be for banking, travel, school, or customer service. Under each word, write common phrases, not only definitions. Add one example of a possible misunderstanding. Add one clarification sentence you could use. This changes vocabulary study from memorization into preparation. You also need to pay attention to word forms. Discipline can be a noun. It can refer to self-control, a field of study, or punishment. Discipline can be an adjective describing a person. It can also be the past form of a verb describing official punishment. Disciplinary is another adjective, often used in phrases such as disciplinary meeting, disciplinary procedure, or disciplinary action. When you learn the whole word family, you understand more than meaning. You understand function. And function helps you predict meaning. A sentence is not a bag of separate words, it is a system. Each part gives information about the others. What became of your dream? A week after the second conversation, the hospital offers you the placement. The email does not erase the embarrassment of the first interview. Instead, the experience becomes part of your growth. During your training, you become known for confirming instructions carefully. When a patient uses an unfamiliar expression, you do not pretend. When a colleague speaks too quickly, you ask them to repeat the key point. When 2 possible meanings exist, you check. The word that nearly cost you your dream teaches you a professional habit that later protects patients, strengthens teamwork, and improves your confidence. That is the unexpected lesson. Your mistake is not always the thing that stops you. Sometimes, the way you respond to the mistake becomes evidence that you are ready to grow. You do not need perfect English before you enter real conversations. You need awareness. You need humility. You need the courage to pause. The next time a familiar word appears in an unfamiliar situation, do not let recognition rush you into an answer. Listen to the full sentence. Notice the structure. Consider the situation. Ask what the speaker is really trying to discover. And when the meaning is still uncertain, clarify it. One question can prevent one mistake. One clarification can protect one opportunity. One misunderstood word does not have to cost you your dream. It can become the word that teaches you how to communicate with wisdom. If you learned something, please become part of this journey. Subscribe and never miss the next one.